All right, students. One of the complicated things about a responsive site is the hamburger icon because we want it to show up only at a certain size and then to disappear at certain sizes. Here is a screen capture of what I've had thus far on the demo. You can see I've got links here and it becomes responsive. The type in the header gets a little smaller after it gets about 800 pixels. The type in here gets a little smaller. And then eventually this type is intended to go away at approximately 480 pixels maximum width. You can adjust it differently. But when it disappears, you should get this hamburger icon. I need to tweak it and get some padding going so it's centered. But it will be like this. And so on a phone or a handheld device, it will do this. And when you click on it, the idea is that it will have an overlay that slides over. And then we've got these links. And then there's a close button. See? And then if I go click here, it's going to take me to Field and Stream in a new window and such. You get the idea. Okay, let me go back and let's look at the code. So here is in Dreamweaver what I have, and I have cut and pasted code that you need to insert. But let me just go over it. In the source code, which is the HTML, we call it source code because this is the foundation of everything. Here's the style sheet that you have, and then you have two jQueries associated with the slider. So ignore those for a moment. We're going to use these two, source code, HTML, and your CSS. So in the source code, down in your body, you'll see that there is the header, and then you have your original nav. I've got some warning here, something I messed up on, but anyway, we'll figure out what that is later. I put in my links, okay? So in the code that I provided for you, I've got links to Field and Stream, Bass Pro, Cabela's. You're going to put your own external links. And remember, to make those external, you have to have the target equals blank, okay? And that will actually then make it open in a new tab. So you'll do that in your footer, you'll do that in your navigation, and you'll also do that on your overlay. And I'll show you. Let me zoom out now. This is where I've inserted another nav. You have your original nav up here. I wanted that to go away. So at 480 pixels in width, I said display none. I did that in the media query. And then I have to tell this new div, I call it nav small. I want to replace it, and I want to have the hamburger menu inside of it. So I gave you this little snippet of code. Let me go over it just really quick. You should have your div ID nav small, and then we have this comment tag here. It just says hamburger menu. And I created another div style for the hamburger. And believe it or not, this hamburger menu is not a graphic. It's simply a piece of code you see right here. That at ampersand hashtag 9776 semicolon, that is actually code for a hamburger icon. And then you can colorize it whatever you want to do. I put margin bottom 6 pixels because I was trying to move it up and that didn't work. So I'm actually going to delete that for the moment. All right. Let me zoom back out. All right, so that's where that is. And this div class overlay right here, and that, just ignore that. It has to be there. It's built into the script that makes this thing function. There is a close button that's going to come up. And by the way, that's the code, ampersand times. That is the code for a close button, which is basically an X that can be colored and so forth. And you need to just pause and go back and see. But this whole bit of code right here, this is going to be placed into your HTML, just beneath where you had your original nav. And hopefully you set your nav to disappear, to actually go display none when it gets small. And then this will appear by saying display inherit at that same view breakpoint size. Okay, this little bit of code right here, I know very little about. It's a script, but it's basically making this thing function, open and close. That my nav, it's referencing that, and it'll go 0% all the way across the screen, and then 0, it will hide all the way off the screen. And I think that is it with the HTML. Okay, now let's jump over to CSS. There's quite a bit here. This is where I inserted the nav small. Now I did this beforehand. I just created another navigation that was pretty much like the original, except it didn't have Really, it was pretty identical. It just doesn't have text in it because I just want a blank background, no text, same padding, everything, but I simply want to insert my hamburger. So I created this. You don't have this yet, so I think that provided that for you. Here is the hashtag hamburger, and this is approximate width. If you want to just be larger, you can adjust things. I set it to display none, so it won't show up until I tell it to display inherit in the media query at 480 pixels maximum width. The font, my font really should be play, because that's the typeface I use. So I'm going to correct that while I'm here. You need to put your font, okay, and then whatever color. I put mine to be white. Now this is on the hamburger. Okay, now this hover right here, this is just simply something that makes it when you mouse over, it's supposed to fade out a little bit. I don't know if mine actually worked. To tell you the truth, I don't think it did, but you can try that and see if it works for you. All right, then moving down to the very bottom, right before all of my media stuff works, there's another media queries. There's another overlay function. This is important, a big chunk of code, and you can adjust this later too, but this little chunk of code has to go before all of your other media queries begin. But this controls the overlay. The overlay is that function. Remember that function that says, oh, I did something that messed my hamburger menu up. I have to go back and do that. Oh dear, bad timing. Okay, but that when that white field came over, if you want it to be black, you want it to be a percentage of transparency, you can adjust that all in here. So the height here, this needs to be, I had to put z-index 999 to get it to come in front of everything else. Here's that background color that was white, 95% white. If you just want to use a solid color, you can. That transition is the speed. You know, it's a half a second to slam over the screen. The rest of it, this is the link itself, the words that come up. I changed the color of there, the font size, etc. And pretty much it. And you can see that these will be adjustable. The overlay A is the link. Overlay hover is like what color does the word turn when you mouse over it. And the rest of this is the position of that X, that button that's in the top right corner. It's from the top 20 pixels down and from the right 45 pixels. If I want to make that X smaller, I could change it right here. You get the idea? Okay. In case you did it, I want to make sure that you didn't mess up like I did, because I think up here I put cursor colon pointer. I wonder if right in here messed up my overlay. I'm just not sure. I'm going to refresh this. Yeah, it did. That's what it did. Okay. So here is that hover. Like if this is too big or if that you don't like that position, you can move it elsewhere. All right. Well, good luck with this. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, one more thing. Down in the bottom of the style sheet where the media queries exist, at the 480 max width, right in here, I had to put nav display none. I think I've showed this to you before. So that original navigation bar will go away. The new one will appear because I said nav small display inherit. And inside that nav small, I have the hamburger display inherit, have it showing up. And that way at 480, this thing will appear. So 480 pixels in width, hamburger icon comes up. I never did close out of this, so you'll see. Good idea. All right, good luck with this.